Welcome to the Hivemind podcast. I am one of your hosts, Hivemind, aka Kyle Kelly.
And I am MTG Cranium 707, your one-stop shop to the Hive, and welcome to the Hivemind podcast. We got a real special episode for you today with some awesome guests, and we're going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves with one of our favorite rules personnel on TikTok and on social media. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? Rip, Pull, Repeat here, your one-stop shop for rules and interactions in Magic the Gathering. I'm really excited to be here, having you guys have me as a guest, so I'm pretty stoked to get it started.
But they're not alone. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Your boy is here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Yes, you are not delusional, okay? I am not on my podcast. I'm actually on someone else's podcast, and I'm invading. This is not going to be just the once. It's going to be many times. So guess what? Stay tuned. It is Dave the Hobbyist here to spread chaos and trolley-like nature to all of you out there into the wild and into the wild blue yonder that is the internet.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys coming on today. Shout out to everybody that's still hanging on with us and supporting. We still have lots of merch available that everybody can get. It's too late for Vegas Con to get it there, though, but it is still in the shop. We also have quite a few announcements coming in the next couple months, and stay tuned for that as well. We got some big news coming in December, I believe, Cranium. Am I correct?
Yes, we do. So we have, I believe this is episode 10. We have 2 more episodes, and then we have a very special guest for a later announcement for next season, who's going to be our first guest next season. And be looking out for that one, because that one's going to be a spicy episode as well. So
it's going to be a spicy meatball.
Spicy meatball, but we also are working with a couple other people to get a playmat out for the Hivemind podcast.
Yes, we are. We're looking for artists too, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, we're looking for a couple more artists to do a couple different variations of something to make playmats for the community. Obviously, we just want to have some sort of thing that, you know, if you guys are wanting to promote or you want to show off a little bit, it would be a great honor to be able to provide something for you guys for that. So yes. Be looking out for that as well once it's done. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for that to drop. Airfirexia is going to MagicCon Vegas this year, promoting the podcast, and just genuinely be there to...
I'm there to connect. I'm going to be there connecting with a lot of people, and we have exclusive Hivemind podcast stuff. Hopefully it gets to my house on time before I fly to Vegas. All right.
Woot.
Also, I want to appreciate Printing Proxies, as always. Plug them too. They sent me some stuff. I'm waiting to get home to show them some love as well. All right. So today's episode, we are in the aftermath of the bands and the RC disbanding, and Wizards of the Coast taking over the People's format. Correct? That's where we're at.
Yep, that is where we were at. And the bands, we've already covered the episode of what we think of the bands and how it's gone down, but post-ban, I don't think it's necessarily been that bad of a ride.
No, it's not. It's not terrible.
No, it's not. It could be a lot better, but as other podcasts out there that are much, much bigger than us have said, it's shaking up the format. It's causing people to use cards that they tend to not use. I know for me personally, Dave, you've played against it. Rip, you have not seen that deck yet, but I'm playing Urza Lord Protector. It's an Azorius Urza. It does its thing. It's not super fast, but it is a combo-centric, fun, just kind of nope stacks and do my thing type of deck. it's not necessarily CDH. It's definitely not on the database, but I think it's causing a lot in the community to be more creative, which isn't a bad thing. Dave and Rip, as to the post bans and everything, what's your guys' thoughts and processes on what you've done to play a more competitive deck, and what cards do you think would you suggest for replacing Jeweled Lotus or Mana Crypt or our good old boy Mr. Cockknobber fucking Dockside Extortion?
It's Cockknocker.
So we'll start with Rip on this one. Rip, how have you dealt with the bans of these cards in your decks, in your competitive decks?
Well, luckily for me, my first CDH deck, Timna Thrasios, was a Hermit Druid deck. It didn't really run any of the cards that were banned, surprisingly. So that one is just old and outdated, so I haven't really been working on that. But my main two decks right now are Yuriko, and Yuriko only lost Mana Crypt, which is just like Mana Crypt was just like an extra. So Yuriko hasn't even felt anything. I think they're really well placed in the meta right now for that type of deck, because it gained a bunch of tools with the flares from Modern Horizons 3. Yuriko's just a fast deck in general, a lot of value from it. So that deck's fine. It's what I'm really working on is my flubs, because that got hit with all three. So I took out those deck cards, and I bought, after the bannings, I went out and I purchased a bunch of cards that I wanted to try out. So I grabbed like a Bloom Tender, I grabbed Sticker Goblin, a ton of Sticker Goblins, all the sticker sheets.
Yeah, Sticker Goblin is definitely taking the place of Dockside, probably.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't 3 mana. The 3 mana does kind of hurt. But with the sticker sheets, with the 10 that you have to, the minimum 10, you will always get 5 mana. So it always gives you a +2. And when I do cast it, it's been feeling pretty good as a free spell. And then also I swapped out my Jeweled Lotuses for Lotus Bloom, and just kind of going for since games are kind of extending a little bit longer, I don't think I need the fastness that Lotus Bloom needed, especially in Yuriko and especially in flubs. Jeweled Lotus isn't even played in most Yuriko lists, so again, it wasn't that bad. My casual decks and my command, high powereds all got hit. Anything with red, I had to take out so many Docksides. That was pretty brutal. But as far as my 2 CDHs that I've been really working on, but I've been working a lot on flubs, trying to figure out what I can kind of replace to kind of still get that same feel for. So that's kind of my really what I've been focused on right now. But
so what you're saying is flubs got hit with the oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, that was my Atraxa deck, buddy. Atraxa went straight to Timna Thrasios. I'm sorry.
Yeah, R.I.P. Walmart girl. Like Atraxa, I have completely deassembled and used the cards in different decks, including the first ever food chain. And it's like, it's sad, but it is what it is. But Dave, how have you been dealing with the post-ban decks, and what have you been working on building?
All right. Well, first thing we had to do is I had to take my Kenrith deck out to the middle of a lake and shoot a flaming arrow at it from a distance, so it could be able to have a proper Viking wedding, or funeral.
Wedding.
After that,
wedding, funeral, same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Someone dies at the end, or something's on fire. No, actually, I went ahead and went back to the drawing board, and I took every deck apart. Every single deck got scrapped, and I started to kind of do this little bit of a walkthrough with a few buddies of mine who are also brewers.
You know who else did?
We were talking amongst ourselves.
I think Kamoff played it when. I think Kamoff played it when did the same thing. Like just took apart all of his decks and just brewed something new.
And it's the fact that you can literally just utilize all the pieces that you have and be able to go, okay, where do I want to go from here? And my friends, they pointed out in the newest set that just released that there's a new commander that I should be looking at, because originally my first idea was, let me go back to Zur the Enchanter. Now we're slowed down. Zur was still fast. But at the same time, he could also go the distance if it needed to go the distance. But they were like, hey, there's another commander that maybe you want to kind of peek your head around and see if it's for you. Master of Keys. So I took a look at this card. And for those of you who are listening right now, Master of Keys is an Esper commander. It's X, white, blue, and black for a legendary enchantment creature horror. A 3/3 flyer that reads, when it enters the battlefield, put X +1/+1 counters on it. And mill twice X cards.
Yes.
Each enchantment in your graveyard has escape. Escape is equal to that card's mana cost plus 3 other cards. The fact that you are literally giving Esper a Underworld Breach for enchantments
That's crazy.
interested me. And I went, okay, what can I do with this? So I started kicking around some ideas with my friends. And we thought of some infinite mana combos that could be able to be utilized with it, possibly trying to cheat out from milling myself. Okay, get the Thoracle win.
Yeah, so basically the lines you're going for is basically a Silence line or Grand Abolisher, infinite mana, X, putting all your stuff in your graveyard, and then going for a Thoracle win. Basically is what the line is.
Which is okay.
And in the words of our favorite rules guy, riveting gameplay.
Riveting. So riveting.
So, I did a video on Master of Keys, and in the video I say, like, having an Underworld Breach effect in the command zone is
powerful.
So good.
That is in Esper. No, in
people that
Esper
don't
colors.
play Underworld Breach don't understand how good Escape is, and then to have it as a repeatable effect in your command zone, I was just like, this is insane.
Oh.
Yeah.
I saw that and I instantly fell in love with it. So I've been toying around with several different builds, several different ideas. It's the fact that I've had to go out of my comfort zone because for the longest time recently it's been, I have all these cards, but why is it that I can only play with only half of them or a third of them or whatever? I want to be able to play with all these cards that I went out of my way and worked hard and got the money and bought and put them in decks. And I figured if I did that with a 5-color deck, I could play with all the cards that I bought and be able to be fine and happy, and I could be able to continue. But with 5 colors literally now turning into, and if you are on the internet right now and you want to check on it, you can go on the competitive EDH decklist database. The only 3 that you will see, which there used to be a crap ton of them there, are Kenrith, Najeela, and Sisay. Now, the Najeela and Kenrith ones have been either outdated or the deck lists that the links are going to are removed. The same can be said for Najeela. Sisay barely was affected by the bans.
Yeah,
now,
so
yes, we lost fast mana for Sisay and shit like that.
Right, but they went to Gaia's Cradle.
Anyway.
They went to Gaia's Cradle and some other lines, so I think they're still okay.
Yeah, so I didn't want to just go into a 5-color deck and just say, hey, you know what, this is my Kenrith deck with a lot less steps. I am still trying different Kenrith builds as my secondary deck, but that's going to be a project within itself. But my current one is Master of Keys. I'm going to try to see if I can make that work. If there's absolutely no way, sound, or anything that just screams, yeah, I'm going to be able to have this, and this will be my current favorite deck, I'll probably keep doing what I've always been doing. Keep searching around, see if I can find inspiration, look through my cards, try different things until I can find something that just sticks.
I think Master of Keys is pretty good. We've been testing on Bad Magic for a week with that deck now, or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think it's seeing some traction. Maybe it needs a little help. I think it'll get there.
It needs a. There is a Discord for Master of Keys for CEDH that I joined into, and there were certain card choices that I was making that were different from theirs, and I've been conversing with several people on there, and like for them, they use Necropotence and LED, and the way that they use them are a lot different than what you would expect.
Right.
Because they think of LED as not part of any sort of combo or anything like that, or the timing to which to use it is to kind of feed into your Master of Keys lines
right.
as fast as possible and be able to sculpt the best hands that you can get off of Necro to kind of help get you
That's sick, though.
Further into the game.
Go down to 1 life, drop your LED, drop your hand, let's go, baby.
If I was going to do that, I was actually thinking about that because that's what Zur used to do. it would just go, let's go to one life and let's see if we can get there. And I'm very tempted to rebuild that. Not gonna lie.
All right, well, that's cool.
I got you or I didn't.
That's some awesome input for the post-ban stuff.
And see, you're gonna see a lot more play. This is kind of, the combo lines that you can do. I know
it's gonna be
the greatest in the whole world. In fact, me and Dave talked about this earlier. Is like now that Dockside's gone, you can have your Isochron Scepter.
Well, it's gonna be a food chain world. We live. I think in a food chain world now. I think food chain's gonna get more popular.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's less about speed and it's more about, all right, how can I either one, protect myself for my combos, or two, how can I pump these combos out as fast as I possibly can?
And honestly, yeah, man, that one hurt.
Atali lost a big thing in Dockside, and yes, it does suck. You still have your food chain combos. You still can get it out turn one. It's a big if, right? With Gemstone Caverns, with a land into a Soul Ring, and then Jessica's Will to turn one Atali, and then possibly get a food chain.
But it's too much work. But it's like inconsistent.
A big if now.
It's so inconsistent in this world of our CDH play.
Right.
Now, if let's say you're playing casual Atali, sure, like you don't need those cards anyway because they're never going to let you cast that card anyway. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, like with mine, you guys have seen my Urza play. Like, it's not the greatest, but it's not horrible at the same time.
Right.
Like, I have my reality chip and Sensei's Divine Pop
I'm
with
telling
Urza or with another.
Dave.
And if Dave didn't counter my goddamn Fabricate, I would have won turn 3.
I honestly think you should try out Eureka. If you're playing that 2-color deck, you should try Eureka. It's actually a really fun deck.
Very demure, very historical combo.
Yeah.
God damn it!
Yeah, Eureka's the way to go. That deck is positioned really well.
With all
I didn't lose anything.
Yeah, with all the MDMF lands that are out now, Eureka is so good, man.
I feel that a lot of the meta is currently going to shift away from anything high value of cost. Anything that is 4 and below is at least going to be sensible. Anything above that, like you're not going to see Atali as much.
Fringe.
People are going to try to jam it, and they're going to try to push it as hard as possible. You're not going to see Atraxa. You're not going to see all of these really big, prominent ideas for decks that you were seeing that were enabled by these cards.
Tibbet's still around though.
The board has been cleared, and now we have like a whole new aspect on it. But the ones that were really not hurt by these bans are still on top, and that's your Timnacrom, Rogsai, and Sisay decks.
Yep.
Those decks were primarily not even hit, and now we have Kinnan.
Hold on. I was about to say, you're forgetting the one top Simic that did not get affected by these bans at all. That is
you let me finish.
Queen herself, Kinnan.
Oh, that's funny.
I mentioned Kinnan as the 4th because Kinnan was, for a while, and I'm sure everyone here agreed, was taken literally off of its throne because of Nadu, and Nadu was the meme, the most hated bird in MTG history that people have said multiple times, and we can go over that, but
we don't need to.
But Kinnan is making a comeback because now Kinnan is like, hey,
Kinnan's in a good place.
I'm not a trend.
See, and I'll say this: Prophet of Krufix opened all of its arms when Nadu came to ban Heaven. It was just like, listen. You were the greatest bird ever. Everyone hated you for no reason, just like they hated me for no reason.
I don't know. I think
welcome.
I like Derevi a little better. That's what it is.
The fact is that you can still run Derevi lines.
Oh yeah, my Derevi deck.
You could still run Derevi as a solo deck to actually get the game wins on there.
No,
Derevi
actually went up in value after this ban, I believe, because it doesn't use Jewel Lotus. It doesn't Mana Crypt, like everybody said, was a bonus card, and Dockside was not in the colors. So it's like that deck for me. I only had to change out 2 cards, so it's not like it was a big deal.
Oh yeah. Rip, do you have anything you want to add to all of this?
No, that's pretty good. You guys are more in the CDH than me. I just kind of dip my toes in it, so I kind of kind
Well,
of
yeah, and that's all. I
kind of
mean,
just let you guys. You know.
well, we wanted to bring on.
But I did
So for the
did
next,
hear, Dave. You said Crom still. I heard Crom's fallen off because even at 5 mana, Crom's not
Well,
worth it.
it's more the fact that they're using him more for the colors. So for the aspect of the deck, you still have Sans Green as a deck still being
Right.
run because they're going to run
Gotcha.
more of the Timna lines because Timna can actually get there where it comes down to the value. If there's an opening to play Crom, yes, people will still try to as best they can to be able to jam it out. But Crom definitely took a massive hit with this because the fast mana was the only thing that was really making him viable and putting a lot of pressure on other players, even on turn 1. Will we see a resurgence of that? I don't know. But a lot of players are shifting off into Roxai.
I'm interested to see some more of the Stacks decks. Maybe when Notice Stacks coming back in.
Blood Moon won big on this band.
That's still
Blood Moon won huge
pretty
here.
quick deck.
Even though I'm off red, but like Blood Moon definitely won big here. I believe the Deafening Silence lines actually won big here. To be honest.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see some more Stacks play, especially with mid range starting to kind of rear its head back into the meta.
Yeah.
I've been looking at some.
Well, if you ever want to join us on Bad Magic on one of these Saturday nights, I'll play my Urza deck and I'll show you some stacks.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll be just playing flubs though, so I'll be high tier 3, low tier 2.
All right, so
we're going by tiers.
Hold on.
I actually
that's why I was saying
tiers up. I just went into the general search.
Well, before we get into that,
okay.
What's your guys's and Rip? I brought you onto this episode for a reason because you're more of a casual player, other than the CDH derivative, right? So,
yeah.
Everybody's feelings on Wizards controlling Commander now. So we're going to kind of shift the topic here a little bit. What's your thoughts? Yeah. What's your thoughts, Rip?
Yeah, as a casual player, I'm okay with it. I mean, I used to play competitive Magic, so I've been kind of at the whims of Wizards controlling bans. In a general sense, I would prefer there not to be, like, for Commander, not to have any bans and just have Rule 0, but obviously Rule 0 failed, unfortunately. I'm casually optimistic about Wizards controlling it. I think it was inevitable. I think this was going to happen no matter what. Whether it was because of the threats to safety, whatever it was, I think this just accelerated them taking a hold of their cash cow. To have 5-6 people in control of the most lucrative part of Magic the Gathering, their most popular format, kind of seems crazy if you step back and think about it in the grand scheme.
And they weren't even getting paid for it. That's the thing.
Yeah, so they weren't employees or anything. So I think this was inevitable. It's going to happen. Hasbro's not going to want, especially, I doubt, and you can read the articles that said that WotC was against these bans because of the monetary values. So I think I'll see how it goes. My only concern that I have is proxying. I'm a big proxy player, as you know. I think most, at least these two of you for sure. I don't know about Dave. You seem like you have every card.
Rip, I only play with proxies now. I'm actually like, my collection is just in the closet, basically at this point.
Yeah.
It's 100% proxy for me.
Too.
Yeah, but go ahead, continue.
So that's the big concern that WotC might try to crack down more on proxies potentially. I know that's been kind of whispered at, but I mean, as far as right now, their official stance is proxying in casual formats they don't care about. It's only for sanctioned events, but I'm also worried that CDH now will be considered a sanctioned event, which I think will kill the format, honestly, in any type of competitive nature.
Yeah, so you think actually... Go ahead.
I'll say this when it comes to, Wizards taking over the format. Rule 0 did fail. And a lot of people listening right now, this is how Rule 0 should go. Dave, we've done this a lot. Airfry Rexy, we've done this a lot. Rip, we've done this the times that we did play. All right, guys.
Yeah.
What do we want to play tonight? Do we want to play high powered? Do we want to play CDH? Do we want to play casual? Okay, here's my deck, right? Doesn't run any infinite combos if we're playing casual. This is a slightly upgraded precon, and I remember a time when I did this with who was it? It was Casual Commander, and I had mentioned like if you bring a CDH deck to a casual pod, you're kind of a dick. And he was like, "Well, what's wrong with playing a $10,000 CDH deck?" I said, "There's nothing wrong with it, but when you rule 0 and everyone is in agreement that we're playing barely upgraded precons, and you bring a CDH deck to a barely upgraded precon pod, you're a dick."
Well,
and then he proceeded to do that.
Well,
so
you also
he kind of made
zero.
the point, and this is my point that I have to say. Rule 0 failed, yes. But these bans were not from CDH players. These bans were not from casual players. These bans were from the pub stompers that came into casual pods with their high powered saying, "Oh, it's just a power level 7. No, you knew what the fuck you were doing. You were coming there to get a win, to get your serotonin, because, oh, look, I beat some precons. You're not a good Magic player. Your deck sucks. If you can't go up against CDH players with your high powered deck, you shouldn't be playing the game to begin with. You shouldn't be playing CDH. If you can't keep up with the other CDH players and you have to go to casual pods in order to get your win, to get your serotonin in, stop playing the game. That's my hot take on this shit. Because it was the pub stompers that brought upon these bans. Because they used all those cards. They utilized it to the fullest of their advantage and took advantage of Rule 0 when people were there to have a genuine good time. When they were just there to play the game and they were like, "No, I'm going to curb stomp the shit out of you." That's fucked up. Hot take of the pod. And that's how I think.
To bounce off of that, my entire history with Commander and Elder Dragon Highlander, I never played with a Mana Crypt until I kind of joined the TikTok community and played a couple streams with people and saw that everyone was playing Mana Crypt.
Right.
And my decks were just completely underpowered in comparison because Mana Crypt just kind of became a staple for most decks.
It was kind of like a Soul Ring, basically.
Yeah, it just kind of became that, and I didn't realize that. So, like, when I would say, like, my deck levels and someone would play a Soul Ring, I'd be like, or, not a Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, I'd be a little shocked and taken aback, because I'm like, oh my, like, you're playing Mana Crypt? Like, your deck is easily an 8 and 9, in my opinion, just because I think Mana Crypt is a really good card. And I didn't play with any of those cards, like Mana Crypt, Dockside, or a Jeweled Lotus. I own one Jeweled Lotus. I just never played with it. So it only was until I got to this community where I started even noticing that, one, people are kind of, there's this really vocal community against proxying, which I never realized because I'd just been proxying my whole life just to play cards. And then also that Mana Crypt was a staple. Like, I considered that almost a staple that should have been put in the pre-cons at this point.
Right.
Because I saw it everywhere. And I think it was just a part of decks. So I think and the issue is that WotC's not going to reprint that card into the ground because it does have value, which is unfortunate for the most part. But so that was a kind of a weird take for me coming back into the Magic community after being on hiatus for so long, is just seeing how much of a power creep has happened in Commander. When I used to play Commander Elder Dragon Highlander, we'd play an Elder Dragon Highlander and the games would go on for 5-6 hours, like we were just playing jank. So it's just really crazy how optimized this format has become.
Right.
Yeah,
it definitely is. There has been power creeps with these cards coming out, every month with the product fatigue and everything. They're just making more and more powerful cards, and that's why a lot of arguments were like, these banned cards that have been banned for so long shouldn't be banned anymore because look, there's a lot of shit that can interact with it. There's a lot of stuff that can, like me, Prophet of Krufix, I was standing on that hill, and I still kind of stand on that hill to this day. That Prophet of Krufix is not a problem in CDH. You can easily deal with that card. But others will be like, well, if it's in a Kinnan deck, I get that. I understand. You don't want to see somebody have 20-minute turns every single turn, but I don't know. That's just me, though.
I mean, technically, we did with Nadu, if we're really being honest about it. So,
like, the Nadu players didn't even care. I was like, okay, I'm going to go take a nap. You already have, like, 5 lands. You got your commander out. Cool, I'll be back in, like, 30 minutes, guys. Later. No, but going off...
so weird, guys, because when when I played against Cranium's Nadu, it didn't do anything. Like
Right.
for like
No. I will openly admit
I was
that
like,
Nadu,
I was on the like keep Nadu around. That deck doesn't
like
do anything.
Nadu either did everything for
The
30
thing is-
minutes or it did nothing for 30
Well,
minutes.
it's like
and
to
that's
beat
what kind
Nadu.
of sucks about Nadu.
It's to beat Nadu.
Pretty sure I watched you read a book.
To beat Nadu, you just get rid of Nadu.
Yep.
It's like the Kinnan decks. To beat Kinnan, you either get rid of Kinnan or the Manador. Pick one, you know?
I'm
Right.
just really against bans and Commander in general. I think
Yeah.
everything should be open to play with. It's like the only format we have left to play.
Right, no, like with
all
me,
of our cards.
And this is the thing about the Rule Zero. If you want to have those kind of games, just talk to your pod. Hey guys, do you guys want to have a no ban EDH game tonight? You do? Okay, let's play that. Grab your ban cards and let's play the game and let's jam some games. You know, they might last 5 minutes, they might last 1 hour. But that's the whole general rule of Rule Zero, is just being honest about your decks and what you want to play. That's it. Just be honest. Hey, I want to play CDH. It has a lot of infinite combos. It has a lot of zero drops. It has all the good cards in it. It's going to bring the smoke, so bring the smoke right back. And that's what the whole point about CDH was bring your best cards to the table and let's fucking
and I made bad magic.
Game, play casual.
Yeah, and I made bad magic.
Kind of circle back to.
I just hold on, Rip. I made bad magic so you didn't have to rule zero with CDH. You know what I mean? That's the thing. You can show up with your strongest cards, your strongest deck, and not have to say a word, and you can play.
Right.
But to circle back as far as like what as a casual player, I'm okay with the bans. As a casual player, I like the bans. I think the only card I would like to see come back is Jeweled Lotus. That's kind of like an iconic card to Commander, even as new as it is.
Right.
It was made for Commander. It's an amazing card. It's a fun card. All decks can really use it if they really want to, and I would like to see that card come back. As far as Dockside, I knew that was going to get banned eventually. I mean, they've been talking about that card for years.
Since they got printed.
Since it got released in 2019. And then Mana Crypt, like I said, I've played my whole life without a Mana Crypt, so it's just like, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good. Like I just have Ancient Tomb and I'll run a Crystal Vein.
Yeah.
You know, like
there's a card
that's
what I'm saying is a Crystal Vein in response to the banning of that. There's a card you can put in replace of it, right?
Yeah, it's a great card.
All in all, I don't think the bans were horrible. It sucked at the time because a lot of people lost a lot of money just out of nowhere. But I think genuinely it is healthy for both the formats to switch things up.
Yeah.
To try out, okay, I don't have those cards. What can I put in replacement? You know, you can do a Dark Ritual. You can do all these other stuff to gain. You know, Mono Red has its way of amping up its value and getting more red out there. You know, look at Krenko decks. That's what their whole thing is. I'm trying to get Krenko out as quickly as possible and create as many goblins and either swing into or sacrifice them and do damage.
Those monocolored decks got hit hard with those bans. Actually Magda.
My rule got hit.
Minus Magda though. Magda's still kicking. Dave, what's your thoughts on this Wizards of the Coast taking over the format?
So, being a player who has literally gone from 60 card constructed formats for well over a decade, from everything from Type 1, Type 2 to Vintage, Legacy, and then dabbling in Modern, and then loving Modern, and then playing it. I am used to cards being hit with a ban hammer out of nowhere. It sucks. You definitely lose out on being able to play with these powerful cards and be able to enjoy them, but that's what drives people to genuinely look towards other different formats. Now, Commander being primarily controlled by the RC, that was very tantalizing. It gave its history because of its growth from being this niche little format that judges used to only play to now the most widely played format that you would ever known. And knowing that the rules committee was 100% we are going to look out for the health of the format, not the financial benefits that could come from this. Like this is going to be for everyone who picks up a pre-con and knows exactly that when they sit down at the table, that the rules and the cards that are put out and put into this list and the mentality that has been put into it and the philosophy of it is going to be upheld. But with that being said, everything that happened was a tragedy.
Right.
And the fact that now WotC is in control due to that tragedy leads me to have, and I will state this for the record, I have tinfoil hat ideas in my head. Do I share them on the internet all the time? No, because I'm not the kind of person who's going to come out of the woodwork unless he feels very, very passionately that something is bad.
Right.
It's more the fact that with WotC being in control and with these possibly being more so, is this going to be run just like they have been doing currently with other formats? And they're going to make it more short-term profit-based? Or are they actually going to keep with the theme and the idea, the philosophy of the Commander Rule Committee?
The player run format, right?
Correct. Time will tell. I have my suspicions. Part of me feels that there is going to be a time, there's going to be one executive or someone who's going to be up there who's going to say, hey, we need to make some profits. Is there something we could be able to do?
That would be
they'll make a gut shot reaction to it.
That would be their big boy Hasbro above their heads, I believe.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And Hasbro has always been about that short-term profits as well as pushing out as much as they can to be able to drive up the stocks and make everybody happy on the top floors and subsequently, hopefully, below. But we've seen from their past experiences, just like this past December when they laid off 1,000 employees in Christmas time. And those three big executives went off with a really big check. And it's just like, if those are the kind of decisions that are being made at current WotC, I'm fearful for what's possibly coming around the corner for Commander as a format.
Correct. I won't add too much to this. My feelings on this, I've been playing Magic for like 30 plus years, man. And I came into Commander at 2016, and 60 card formats was my thing too, but my biggest fear of this is not only that, and people thought this ban was bad. The 60 card formats love to ban fun toys, right? And when the top things perform, they go away. And this has been their moniker forever. And I've seen it time and time again. Even though the commander we have right now is not a format, it possibly could be, in the future. So it's like, if that actually happens, my tinfoil hat on, we're going to see a lot of cards being banned, and probably mostly the fast mana. You're going to see the Moxen go, and you're going to see the expensive stuff go, right? That's the stuff that's going to go first. So if that actually happens, I believe that's what's going to happen. It's
going to be definitely a transition for a little bit. I think that because of everything that transpired, we won't hear or see anything really substantial.
Yeah, they gotta let the dust settle, right? So like it's been a long 3 weeks for anybody that plays Magic. This was like super embarrassing. I've had days where I've talked to Mark. I was like, Mark, I just don't even want to be on my phone right now because I got multiple messaging me like all this negative stuff. I'm just like, man, this is too much for me. Like I didn't sign up for this, like my channel is about the thing that I love. And it's like, people are trying to take that away from us, trying to just being assholes pretty much. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's initially why I made that one video about, it's not about the cardboard we play. It's about getting with your friends and slinging spells and just having a good time,
Right.
Like, yes, it sucks. It does. It really does. But at the same time, Magic is in the gathering, and it always will be. And I will be an advocate for that until the day I die.
And
that's what this game is all about, is bringing people together to play a silly cardboard game that a corporation owns and pumps out all this product on us, but we play the game to meet up with friends and just have a good time. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's our decompression time, right? So that's where I'm at with that, and also with WotC taking over for me, it was like I was sitting on Lothal, like petting my loft cat, and like I see Thrawn just come over my planet with his big ass gunship, That's what it was like to me. I don't know, man. That was kind of a weird metaphor, but like that's what it was like, and I was just like, well, it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing any player in the community can do to stop that. You know what I mean? In a sense.
No, and that's a fair assessment to go about it. It's for WotC, Hasbro, and the community to have that sort of trust in each other again. That's going to take time, because now the ugliness of what's in the internet was put forefront. People knew about it. They didn't really question anything about it. They didn't say, but they knew it was there. They just never really gave it any sort of attention. This drew the attention. This built now and you guys said it classically, by the way, in your episode called Massacre Monday, because that's what I refer to it as. It was literally the beginning. It was the beginning of pulling back that curtain and seeing, unfortunately, the truth between the consumer's trust, and the provider, and the trust from the provider to the community. Because that event, you're going to have spotty parts of it where it's going to be discourse, there's going to be disagreements, there's going to be arguments, there's all this stuff. But it's really came to light now on how severe and troublesome and troubling it is.
Yeah, I know it really is.
That people treat it like this. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of small baby steps to kind of engage with the community, to have the community self-correct by pointing out those who were responsible for these horrible acts, and at the same time try to hope and pray that the customer confidence that is still there for WotC and Hasbro that taking over the format is going to be respected.
Correct.
But we can only speculate. We can try our best.
Yeah, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, WotC has control of our format now. So it's everybody speculate what they want. So it's right now it's basically right now it's a brand new meta. It's a brand new game, and that's the way I look at it now.
Oh yeah.
Honestly,
Rip, when it comes down to it, I know you're more on the casual side for a lot of this. So as a casual player, I do, and I have heard the same things that you said. A lot of players are happy or not really even affected by these bans, and they're just cruising, doing their thing, being really enjoying the general atmosphere of the game. The unfortunate part is that now you have a lot of players who are now shooken up by that. And when you hear these stories of people being shook up or upset for the values and stuff like that, like as a casual player, what is your stance on that? And I'm not trying to put you on spot. I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable. So if it is a kind of a loaded question, I can reiterate it in a different way so that you understand that's not the case.
I don't agree with how fast these bannings were. I think that the players should have been put on a watch list to let stores, players kind of look at it and do what their feelings are. The fact that it just happened, and how I think I watched I forget the name.
Command Zone.
Someone
Josh and Jimmy,
for the person I'm talking about. Yeah, Jimmy. He stated like if you had a button that just you press and all these 100,000 people lost $300, like you'd be a horrible person for doing that, and I agree with that. It sucks that people invested in the game, that they had that they bought this thinking that these could retain their value, that they could sell eventually, or that they spent their hard-earned money, because a lot of these players are just out there 9-to-5 jobs, playing the game, spending their, what little, what they can save up to get a mana crypt so that they can play. Like I've noticed when I said I came back into the game and noticed that was kind of a mainstay, but you're looking at $180, $220 card. That's crazy to me in the sense of a casual game, a casual format, because it's casual,
right?
But again, these are real players. These are just regular players. These aren't none of us are super rich. We're all just playing a game that we love. So to lose out on that type of money is devastating, and I disagree with the way that the bannings went completely. While I can still be okay with what was banned, I hate the way that it happened. It should have never happened like this. There should have been way more warnings, or at least some sort of how they were doing with Dockside. Dockside, I don't think anyone's surprised with.
I think honestly they could have done away with just Dockside and Audio and just called it a day and said, "Hey, we're watching Mana Crypt and Jewel Lotus."
Totally. And then just saying like, "Hey, here's what we're looking at watching for the next announcement." Like, Fast Mana is on our watch list. Mana Crypt, Jewel Lotus, things of that nature are on the watch list. We are going to assess and kind of think that, so just kind of keep that in the back of your head. So if people wanted to, offload some of their stuff, they at least had a chance, or at least some sort of inkling that this was going to happen. But I had no idea. I don't think anyone had.
Yeah, there would be no. At that point, there would be no
chopping block.
At that point, there would be no feel bads, right? There would be no feel bads at that point.
Yeah, it's just like I would never expect that. I honestly never thought in a million years that Mana Crypt was going to get.
Me neither.
It's been around for so long.
That one was the most surprising one to me. I was like, Mana Crypt 2? Like, I can understand.
If anyone told me like what card I should get in Commander, I'd say dual lands and a Mana Crypt. Like, you're totally fine doing that. But now it's like I have no idea.
Hot take: Soul Ring's more powerful than Mana Crypt and always will be, yet they put it in every precon. Why can't they put Mana Crypt in every precon?
Yeah, I mean,
because having 4 mana on turn 2 is acceptable because it is the identity of the format.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel about it. I don't think if it was up to me, I wouldn't have banned Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus, even though I'm okay with the bans, and I think the format's going to be okay without them. I wouldn't have done it.
So do you think the casual players in the format will actually benefit more from this with the new bracket system that's coming out?
I don't think anyone benefits really from this in the grand scheme of things. I mean, so many people lost so much money. It upset the community. People were given death threats. The RC was disbanded. WotC took over. I mean,
yeah, it spiraled real quick. We know. We don't have to go over that.
Yeah, it just really spiraled. I don't think anyone wins in this situation. Everyone feels bad. Everyone's kind of at each other. The casual players are laughing at people that invested in it. It's just like they're not. I mean, not all casual players, but I'm just saying there are people, bad faith actors and all that stuff.
Right.
Chiding at people or saying like, oh, you shouldn't be, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, people can play the game how they want. Like, you don't get to tell someone else how they enjoy the game or what they want to spend their money on ever.
Right. No, I get that 100%.
So I don't know. It sucks. Like I said, I'm against ban lists in Commander. Commander's a casual format. It always has been, is Elder Dragon Highlander.
See, that's, and it's an eternal format, right? Like, this is the reason that this is what took me from 60 card formats. Until 2016, I was playing Standard and Modern, right? And my buddy was like, dude, you got to get some Commander decks. In 2016, I bought the 2016 Commander decks, which, by the way, was the best year of Commander decks, in my opinion. But hey, I got lucky. Anyway, I was like, he was like,
I'm even for like bringing back Black Lotus and the Mox into Commander, because like,
oh man,
how cool would that be to play against someone who has those cards that they're just playing with? Like, come on.
Well, let me tell you, if you want a 5-minute game, unban those ones.
Yeah, you want. Well,
even if then the game's over, and then you say, okay, can you like play something else now? Because you stomped us. Like, that was really cool. But like, let's play something. Can you have another deck?
We have no ban nights on Bad Magic on our stream, right? So we've done Moxen nights and Black Lotus nights. That it's insane.
That's crazy. It's totally, and I think that's just the Commander format should just be to be able to play however you want. Stop trying to force it into sanctioned play. Stop trying to do like get randos to come play. Commander was just like you playing with your friends.
Right.
To waste time before you could play Standard again. Like,
right.
Stop making cards for Commander in Standard and make Standard better. Like
And
Standard was awesome.
I think my point of this episode, I just want to say is, I want to see less banned cards, just like you do, Rip. You know what I mean? I said, it's an eternal format.
I just don't care for Commander bans.
Right.
I felt more upset when they banned Sundering Titan.
Oh,
because everybody was running Sundering Titan when I was playing. Back when Commander was still pretty young, or young in the sense of they changed it to Commander.
Right.
But, yeah.
With that being said, that now before we move on, just a quick tidbit: how does everybody feel about a lot of these other creators or personalities who are trying to kind of take the reins and say, hey, CEDH should be its own format, should have its own separate ban list, and we feel, or a group of us feel, we can work towards doing that. Like, how does everyone feel about these people just coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, we know how to fix CEDH, or we know how to make this format our own format. If you follow us, we can do this.
I honestly, in my opinion, they are capitalizing on an opportune moment when emotions are high, and then people will be willingly, okay, yeah, I'm down for it. When in all reality, it's going to take time. If you want to make the formats two separate formats, it's going to take time. It's going to take ruling. It's really going to take thought into it, not just like, hey, we'll save the format, we're the best. No, you're a group of 4 people that are capitalizing on a very shitty situation in order to push your own agenda on the format.
Oh, okay, here we go with the top tech.gg
I think
shit.
I'm gonna have a hot take on this.
Go for it, Rick. Go for it.
I'm fully against splitting the format. Fully against it. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to have to keep track of 2 separate ban lists. I think I'm just very against it.
Were you there for Bandit? Were you there for Bandit's Commander? I'm curious.
For which one? For what?
For Bandit
as Commander.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
What is that?
When they had like Raffello, like they had a separate list on the ban list where it was like, hey, you could have these cards in your 99, but you can't have them as your commander.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I briefly remember that. That didn't go on for very long, did it?
No. It actually had it was like the unspoken joke that everyone would keep on putting on it.
Yeah.
Because everyone would see that list and just be like, why? What's the point?
Yeah.
So eventually when they abandoned that idea, it was just like a meme at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, I do remember that slightly. When you say Raffello being in the 99, I do remember stuff about that, but I wasn't following it. Like I said, I was really into Standard. I love, like you guys have
the same.
I love 60 card format.
I played Standard for years,
card format is, Commander's fun, but I don't think there's anything better than making a constructed deck and slinging 60 cards. But I'm just against it.
Wait, since we have you on here, compared skill levels from 60 card to Commander, do you think it's actually harder to win a game in structured 60 card versus a 4-pot of 100 singleton card format?
I find the play in Commander to be a lot more loose. I find it to be very loose. Like I said, it's a casual format. We're having fun. Like when I played Commander, we were, drinking beers, sitting at a table, slinging cards. And then at tournaments, when I was doing tournament grinding, you'd whip out your 100-card jank Commander deck. You play a little bit, and no one would ever actually win. And we just play sloppy, talking hard, and then we go play Standard.
Right.
And Standard was tight. You played Standard tight.
So you feel like you make one mistake
I think it's harder to win in a Standard 60 card because they have a constructed deck, you have a constructed deck, you have much more probability of drawing your card. It's just, it's another beast altogether,
Right.
and I'm sad to see the state that Standard is in. I heard that it's getting better. But Standard used to be like the format. Like
Right.
you played Standard, everything else was trash.
Well,
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they were
And it was
they were
awesome.
structuring that. Yeah, I mean, and I agree. There were certain parts in Standard that were great. As personally on my end, I'm kind of on the hot take of Standard was trash before. It's going to be trash now. And the reason why I say that is coming from like Type 1, Type 2 formats, and then being reintroduced as Standard, and finding out that you're going to be buying cards on almost on a constant basis.
Yeah.
It was the same kind of idea that was starting to come around, because before there was like a 2 or 3 year rotation now before they shift cards out. It was literally like you had less than a year, like from when a certain set came out. You had less than a year, then they were rotating 3 sets out, and then they were putting 3 sets in for that was coming in the next year. And then when they upped it to 2 years, people were like, okay, this is fine still, but you were still on the chase, because you would still run into a lot of the problems financial, but then you would also run into the problems with certain player aspects. Like in my area, we actually had a couple of those really predominant, hey, I'm going to go into the Pro Tour sort of peoples. One did, and the other was caught cheating. Now, if anyone here understands the name Jared Botcher.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know the guy. Probably you can look it up.
Botcher,
we don't have to go into details because we have limited time. You know what I mean?
No. But I'm just saying, if you want a good laugh, watch a video. I think Nikachu did it, where he explains all the different cheaters. Jared Botcher, I played against that guy. He was a predominant grinder for Standard, for Modern, and all that. And those players hang in those competitive formats primarily. And that's including the ones that even got kind of shied away. So you have a lot of investment financially, and now you are now investing your time with hopefully being in a healthy Standard format or environment where you are actually enjoying yourself and not having to worry about, actually having to play as if you are being filmed and watching everything that they're doing when it comes down to touching your cards, to playing certain lines, to understanding certain things. Like there was a lot of things that kind of drew me away from it. But Modern, yes, it had the same problems, but my cards retain their value. They stick around. I can have the same deck. All I have to do is change it every once in a while if a card gets banned out of it. But I understand your point on it, Rip, and I'm not taking that away from you. I'm not, because I ran one Standard one time, and it was during Gate Crash, and I had the most fun I have ever had in that format.
Yeah,
so
I was in the era of Snapcaster Mage, so that was really fun too. So,
all right,
guys,
that was a fun Standard.
Yeah.
Well, I think with that we covered both the WotC and the
pretty much what we wanted to say. Yeah. So. I think we're pretty much at the end of this episode. Rip, if you wanted to add anything rules-wise, I think maybe to your followers and fans that you have.
Just a random rule.
Just something.
Hey, everybody.
This is the thing.
CR,
No. No, it's because
brought to you by CR 702.1.
No, it's because do it because usually we do Ask or Gas, but nobody posted any Ask or Gas on our last episode, so.
Excuse me, I posted something weeks ago on one of your videos, and I didn't see it. It was a card I had stated on there. You should go through, and the fact that I have to tell you, I'm not doing it, Shelby. I'm not doing it. No, you're gonna find out. And then next
what is After Gas? What is After Gas? I'll give you guys a card. What's After Gas? So just
After Gas is whether it's viable in CDH or if it's a casual.
Oh,
yeah.
So it's either gas or that.
Let me. Okay. Let me. Okay, off the top of my head, about Come Back Wrong.
All right, Cranium. Due diligence.
Stealing Commander.
Let's see. Come Back Wrong. We have. Right here, it's 1 black, 2 colorless. Destroy target creature. If a creature card is put in a graveyard, I really like this card. I think, personally, it's gas. because you can destroy someone's commander and then bring it back to your board, swing at them,
Can you
commander
though?
damage to them, and then it goes to the graveyard or back to their.
It's all one.
Absolutely.
It's all one.
So it passes the state.
resolution,
It
so
passes the state of the commander actually hitting the graveyard.
Yeah, it never goes. It never. You have to resolve the entirety of the card.
Mhm.
So if it hits the graveyard, it then goes back. So the player doesn't have a chance to then use the replacement to put it in the command zone.
Oh,
so you
that's
do get
sick.
to keep it.
Because what a lot of people fail to realize is the commander has to hit the graveyard, resolve in the graveyard before they can choose at that point.
Yeah, state-based actions have to go through.
Okay.
That's why I bring it up.
The reason, when it comes down to it, that card's got a lot of things. But my problem with that is the state-based actions that revolve within Commander. So, from how I understand it, and if I'm wrong, I'm more than happy to fully hear it out. But from what I understand is, if a commander would leave any zone, and it would go either to the library, to the graveyard, to your hand, to exile, what have you, the player has a choice as a replacement effect to put it in your command zone.
But it has to go to either the graveyard first. So it has to actually hit the graveyard or go into your hand. And then after that has happened, you can choose to put it back in the graveyard.
Right.
But if it goes to, if in this card saying that if a creature card would go into the graveyard, then it goes to your side of the board. So it has to hit the graveyard.
It's replacing
it's
replacing the replacement effect is what it's doing.
Right.
The thing is, though, if it has a replacement effect, it would still be changing zones, which means the player would still have the choice to put it back into the command zone.
That's why we have Rip here. He can explain it.
But no, at the same time, because there's the resolution on there where it says if it hits the graveyard, it comes onto your battlefield.
Like I said, we have Rip here. He can explain why.
Okay. Let me just bring up my own video.
He's not even going to tell us. He's just going to have the speaker up to his phone.
I should just play that.
Just play that whole thing and just hurt our feelings.
No, just
so it's exactly what Cranium's saying. The commander never is in the graveyard when the state-based actions are checked because it's one continuous effect that you have to resolve before priority is then given back to do state-based actions. State-based actions can't check in the middle of a spell resolving. And if you looked at Come Back Wrong, you'll see that it's one solid paragraph.
I'm looking at it right now, and I do see that.
My vote for this card.
You have to resolve all of that paragraph before state-based actions.
Look, my vote for this. That's why
that card is unique.
If I'm
that's why I bring it up because. Necrotic selection is a casual staple to steal people's commanders, so I'm just asking how a sorcery speed 3 mana steal your commander card feels.
I'm gonna say I'm kind of mixed about this with the sorcery speed.
I'll tell you that.
with the slowed down meta that we have now in CDH, and I'm very picky with what I put in my decks. By the way, everybody knows that. It's kind of hard to find room for a card in my decks for this type of card. Because realistically, when I'm trying to replace cards to make my deck better, because my decks do one or two things, right? They want to win the fastest and the best they can, right? This card really derives away from that, especially in my Tymna Thrasios deck. I feel like I don't want to be doing that type of thing. You know what I mean? However, there are other decks that can utilize this card, like Crick, right? Like, you can steal something cool with Crick, or what's the other deck? Maybe I would put this in. Maybe some other French CDH deck. But I'm not going to say this one's totally out. I'm not going to say gas or ass. I'm going to say it's like right in the middle, honestly, for me. The sorcery speed is what gets it. If it was an instant speed, this thing would be gas all day.
Right. By the way, I remember the card that I suggested a while back. You guys may have gone over it because I'm being a troll and just doing one thing, but I'm going to say it right now. Aragorn the Unifier.
We did that.
Did that one. Yeah,
I thought you did. So that was my mistake, gentlemen, and I apologize.
Yeah, it was ass.
It was, my God, it is not such a good damn card. I don't want to hear this shit. I don't want to hear it.
All right, guys, we've been on here quite long enough, and we're hoping to not take away too much from everybody's lives. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us this long and listening to us blabber. Cranium, you want to sound us off? And Rip, if you have anything else to say, plug yourself and put it in now. And Dave, you too as well.
Go ahead, Rip and Dave, and then I'll sign us off.
Like I said, Rip Pull Repeat. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all with different content, mind you. Definitely, and check out the channel sponsor, printingproxies.com. They have the best and fastest Magic the Gathering proxies out there, so definitely give them a check out. Check out my playmat affiliate with Paramount Playmats. You can use the code RIP30 for 30% off your playmats, so definitely check those. Those are all links in my bio. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun, as always, hanging out with you guys, so I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
And as always, I'm Dave the Hobbyist. If you're looking to see what kind of weird shenanigans and content that I usually make, I do have a TikTok, but I also have my own podcast. It's just called That TikTok Hobbyist. It's on Spotify. It is on Apple Music. And quite honestly, it's me primarily just talking into the microphone, sharing my opinions or whatever thoughts are randomly just generated within my brain within the next 15 seconds of when my voice hits the microphone. But I do want to give a couple of shout outs to a few of my friends, as well as people that I really do enjoy, not only their place of business, but also the people that are there. First one is going to be my buddy Frank over at Darkside Designs. If you're looking for your own personalized metallic proxy of any card, it could be Pokemon, it could be Magic, it could be Flesh and Blood, go and check him out on TikTok. He's at Darkside Designs on TikTok. Let him know that Dave sent you and he'll be able to hook you up. If you're looking for your very own singles or just packs, go check out Stratosphere or My Unique Finds on TikTok. He's got his own TikTok shop. He does rip and pulls every Friday. He's got a large selection of cards. Check his bio, check his links. You will not be disappointed on the quality of the stuff that he sends to you, or even the quality of the content that they bring every single time they do a rip and ship. And then for my local game shop that I truly enjoy going to, and the staff there, and including the friends that I've been able to make there, that is over at Flights to Games and Hobbies, located in the capital region of New York at 381 Sand Creek Road. Don't be afraid to go in there and check out the best, and I feel this, the best Magic supply that you will find in the next 1,000 or even as low as 500 miles. You will not be disappointed with it. And thank you very much, guys, for having me on the show.
Yeah. And thank you guys for hanging out. It's always a privilege to be able to talk shop with everybody about Magic the Gathering. And as always, we will sign off with For the Hive.
Also, glory to Phyrexia. Thank you, everybody, for staying with us and keeping interest in our podcast. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
I'll keep trolling.